Hi, welcome to Autism 101. Close your eyes and imagine an extremely loud humming noise, like the white noise on a TV blaring in your head. Now also imagine the ticking of a clock super late at night. When you can't sleep, it's loud and annoying. On top of both of those things, imagine being in a crowded arena and not being able to do anything but listen. Play all of these noises in your head at the same time, the humming, the ticking, and the talking. Now finally, imagine hearing those things consistently while trying to listen to a math lesson. Overwhelming, right? This is simulating how it would feel to be living on the autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, in a classroom. The ticking is the clock that is on the wall, the humming is the fluorescent lights, and the talking is small conversations between classmates. The lesson is the lesson that's being given in class. By the end of this speech, everyone in this room will be a little more confident in their basic knowledge on autism as we talk about scenarios that affect people with autism differently than people with a typical brain, characteristics found in individuals with autism, and ways to communicate with the autistic community. I have learned these things from my experience working one-on-one with children and adults with autism at my job with Williamson County Parks and Recreation for the past 3 years. In a study by the University of Kentucky Lexington and the Indiana University Purdue titled Teacher Self-Efficacy of a Teacher's Students with Autism Spectrum Disorder, Associations with Stress, Teacher Engagement, and Student IEP Outcomes following Compass Consultation, states that across special education, student population learners with autism spectrum disorder are described as one of the most challenging groups, which is why it is important to learn about. As noticed in the scenarios at the beginning, everyday situations for us are 10 times harder for an individual with autism. That scenario was based in a classroom, but imagine being in a grocery store. You would hear grocery carts squeaking, beeping of the cash registers, everyone in the store's conversation, etc. It is important to understand how a person with ASD are living so that communications between both people are comfortable. Colorado State Department of Education says this about children with autism. This child exhibits unusual, inconsistent, repetitive, or unconventional responses to sounds, sights, smells, taste, touch, or movement. It is important to keep these things in mind when communicating with someone with autism because all of their senses are amplified. Now that you understand how it might feel for someone who has autism, here are some characteristics you might see. Most of the time, you cannot tell someone has autism by the way they look. This disability takes place inside the brain and not on the outside. However, there are some common physical actions that are seen. People with autism lack social cues that tell them when things are appropriate and inappropriate to do. This could lead to random outbursts of talking or abstract physical movement. Example is hand flapping, tiptoe walking. Although this information may make it seem scary or uncomfortable to associate with autism community, it only takes a few simple skills to have a successful conversation with someone with autism. When communicating, use a soft voice. Do not repeat phrases over and over again for a response. Allow time for a response. The National Autistic Society, autism.org, advises to always use their name at the beginning so they know you are talking to them. Use their special interest or the activity they are currently doing to engage them. Say less and say it slowly. These are just a few tips that can be done to have a successful conversation with a person with autism. In conclusion, we have now discussed how people with autism might feel under different circumstances, different characteristics of ASD, and ways to communicate with people on the autism spectrum disorder. Think back to the beginning scenario, the ticking, the humming, the talking, and the math lesson. Remember to keep this in mind when communicating with the autistic community. Thank you.